Today we're finding the perfect house to buy in Celina, Texas. That is on our vision board for today, and we're going to accomplish that in the next 30 minutes or so. So if you're into that, if you're looking to buy that perfect house, that ideal place in Celina, let's get going because we got a lot of ground to cover. So the way that we do our series when it comes to finding that perfect house in Celina is pretty straightforward. We're going to look at Celina real estate very briefly, and then we're going to really narrow down a property that we're going to analyze. So we're going to look at the images themselves. So all of the property images. I'm going to point out a few things that are going to be helpful in your home search. Then we're also going to look at the description and also the details of the properties, because again, I'm going to give you some helpful advice and tips and pointers that are going to help you decide if this is the house for you or could potentially be the house for you, so you can go and visit the property after you find it, and or if you should just swipe left or right or wherever the swiping happens. And then we're going to go in through, we're going to look at 3 different ways to finance the purchase of the house. So with the sole purpose of finding that ideal home in Celina, Texas is what we're going to do. So if we're going to buy a house in Celina, first we need to find a house in Celina. So right now, Celina, Texas has 110 properties available for sale, with the average price point being $711,000. Now, there's a lot that goes into this number. Mostly, there's a lot of new construction going on up there. You see a lot of land. You see a lot of farm and ranch. You see just a lot of big properties and a lot of mansions that do skew up that average price point to the number that you just saw on the screen. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be much less expensive, but what I am saying is that number is a little bit higher than what you might be thinking if you're looking at Celina. So Celina happens to be the furthest north that we're going to go on this YouTube channel. So our YouTube channel is the DFW Homeowner, so we stick to the Dallas-Fort Worth. And it just so happens that Celina is the furthest north that we're going to get to in our YouTube channel. So it has that title. It has that privilege of having the northernmost boundary covered for us. Now, when you're looking for a property for sale, when you're looking for a property to buy, ask yourselves three key questions. They're the 3 C's. Number 1, what commute do I need? Regardless of the area that you're going into, oftentimes you're going to be confronted with the commute question. What type of commute do I need to have for my work, for my employment, for if I'm going to school? Whatever the case may be, whenever I go out of my house, where am I going? So what commute do I need or am I comfortable with is a better way of saying that. The second thing to ask yourself is, what type of community do I want? Do I need or want or desire the outdoor lifestyle community? Am I looking for... I think you're looking. So sorry, just my phone started going off with text. The community. What type of community are you looking for? Are you looking for the dinner at a different restaurant, every type of lifestyle? Are you looking for that perfect ISD? Are you looking for that park and recreation life? Are you looking for lake lifestyle? What is it? What type of community are you looking to build in your area, in your community that you go into? And then the third question to ask yourself is, what's the cost, right? So what budget? Can I afford this area? Can I afford this community that I'm trying to buy in? So those are the 3 C's to ask yourself. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at some of the property available for sale right now in Celina, and we're going to really zero in on a property that we're going to buy right around the average price point for Celina. So we have 94 homes for sale that are single family in Celina. And the least expensive home for sale right now is $320,000 in Celina. So if you have a pre-approval up to $400,000, you can buy a house in Celina. As you can see here, you're not going to have as many options. There's about 12, 13 homes here. However, it's still possible. It is doable, and some of these have actually been reduced in price. Actually, all of these down here have all been reduced in price. Of the 13 homes that are available for sale right now, they've all been reduced in price. So if you're looking, if you have a pre-approval in hand and are frustrated, you just can't find that property, now might be a good time to take off that pre-approval again and update it slightly, because those aren't forever. But if you have a pre-approval up to $400,000 and maybe were squeezed out originally because you just weren't finding that ideal home, now might be a good time to go in and check out the homes available for sale right now. So as you're seeing right now, these are the homes that are available for sale in Celina, and we're going to go to luxury for a quick second just so you see the most expensive homes. As I was mentioning earlier, there is higher priced homes that are really skewing the average price point up, and there's a ton of them. There's a lot of million plus properties out here because typically you're going to have more land, you're going to have more acreage, and you're going to have larger homes out here. But for our purposes today, what we're going to do is we're going to find a home right in that sweet spot. We're going to find a home that has already been built. This open house home is just calling our name right now. Ooh, this one's better. I like the reduced price. I like that this has a bit more maturity, meaning it's not as new as this particular property. It's going to give us some different conversation around to talk through. From Brasil, estamos acompañándote. Hey, thanks for dropping by. Muchas gracias. Se los agradezco. All right, so drop it in the chat. Where are you contributing from today? All right, so this is a house that we're going to buy. There's a few elements that we're going to look at, but we're going to start off where most people that are looking to buy start off, and that is in the IDX. It's in the online search. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this property here, and we're going to go over to an interface that you're most comfortable with, most likely, and that's going to be Zillow. So we're going to take the Zillow the Zillow profile just to familiarize yourself with it, or refamiliarize yourself with it, because again, Zillow is the big elephant in the room where most people go to for their first stop, for their first place to look for homes. So I want to give as much, I'm going to simulate the purchase experience as much as possible. So we're going to drill down on this particular property. I'm going to point out a few things. We're going to look at the description and the property description. Then we're going to actually go and run some numbers on our particular home purchase right now. So you get to see how much you need to make. You're going to see what the mortgage payments are like, what property taxes are. You're going to get the whole experience if you were going to buy. So if this is the first time, watching the video on purchasing property, or if it's the first house that you're ever going to purchase, there's going to be a lot of key elements here that you don't want to miss. All right, so let's look at some basic information and then go down a little bit further. So we have this property right now in Celina being offered at $560,000. You had a $16,000 price cut about 2 weeks ago, because at the time of this recording is 2 weeks after the fact. There's 2 full baths, almost 1,800 square feet. We're on an acre and a fourth, so 1.25 acres, 2.8 acres. So let's check out the property itself. It was built in 1995, so this lets us know that this is a 30-year property, 29 years of age. So you're getting right to that age where the major appliances are probably on their way out, if not have already given out. So this is like the HVAC unit, water heater for sure. So there's going to be some things that we're going to look for in our description, and also in our look through the property as we see it right now. All right, so as we go through, just 2 quick things. Number one, I'm going to point out some small things, because the small things can lend themselves to the larger things. So if we're not taking care of the small things as a homeowner, chances are we're not taking care of the big things. I'm not trying to be critical. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm not trying to be obnoxious with it, but just want to call out those small things, because again, the small things kind of say a lot about the bigger things. The second thing I want to share before we get into and look at all the images here is, when you're purchasing a property, oftentimes you're going to spend about 30 minutes on site in the actual property itself. So you're not going to have as much time as one would think to make the decision to purchase. So within 30 minutes, you're basically deciding, hey, do I want to put an offer, especially in a hot real estate market? In some cases, with some of our clients, we weren't even going to the house. So we would just see a home that was just listed, and we would immediately write up the offer and send it on its way, and we would the email would get there with the offer, and then we would arrive to the house shortly thereafter. That's how crazy it can get. So anyway, the 2 reasons that, again, I'm calling out a few things here in our time together is because of that. The small things say a lot about the big things, and number 2, I'm going to point out the second thing is that you don't spend a lot of time in the property itself. So the more research and the more things that you identify early on is going to help you when you're on site, when you're actually touring. So right out of the gate, over an acre lot. So there's a lot of landscaping, or a lot of grass cutting that needs to happen. All right, so you have a really open lot right here. So it looks like we have from right here all the way down here, you have a long driveway. Well, this is probably not yours, or it could be. I don't know. I don't think this is yours. This is your driveway over here, and then the rest of the lot. So there's You typically don't see a ton of fences here. Like, yeah, this one does have it, but that's something to be mindful of. So it's a huge area, huge lot. Your red brick. I'm still a fan of red brick. I know a lot of people aren't really big fans of it. The first thing that a lot of our clients like to do is immediately throw white paint on it. I don't know. I'm still a big fan of red paint. I don't know what it is about red brick, but I'm still a fan. Landscaping seems to be good. It's not a ton of landscaping, not a ton of seasonal landscaping, so that's good. You don't have to rip out all these flowers and redo every single quarter, it seems like. So there's a lot of images on the outside. Eventually we'll get inside, folks. So what I do like about this, let's call it out real quick. You have some screens. So here I'm going to assume that the sun is setting towards the front of the house over here. So that's why we're seeing these screens here. So it helps you from an energy preservation. It helps you from it not being extremely hot and a ton of sun going into your area. So it really it will feel different. If you've ever been into a house where you've installed screens like these, it's a night and day difference. It's so different. The second thing that I want to point out is just about in all the homes that we go into, we look at the gutter situation. So we have gutters all the way around the house as we're seeing here. That's important given the fact that we have foundation issues here in Texas. That's no secret. But also, when you're looking at the gutters, if you're not putting that expense, let me rephrase that. If you buy a house that doesn't have gutters, oftentimes you're going to have to put them in yourself. So that's a big expense that a lot of homeowners don't want to take. So if you can buy a house that already has those gutters and it's already factored into the price in some way, shape, or form, that's thousands of dollars that you don't have to spend. So this is the entryway. You have a pretty cool door. It's a heavy door. I can already tell. It's not one of those standard kind of like plywood doors. You have some hardwood, which I'm a big fan of hardwood. Now, one thing to note is in the 90s, which is when this was built, in the late 80s, in the 90s for sure, you had a lot of faux finish. Yeah, this is what you're seeing right here. You had a lot of faux finish. So if you're not a fan of that faux finish around here, this might not be your play. Reasonably sized ceilings, the height of the ceiling, so it does look. Oh, you're going straight into the living room right here. Is there an office on the left hand side or no? No, you're going straight into the living room. And where's the kitchen? So you go straight in. I'm going to say the kitchen's on the left hand side. It has been updated or at least painted. This is not a this has been updated. And for sure it wasn't this color when it was purchased. You have some tile on the floor. Cool. Now, one thing that's going to come up, and I don't necessarily, for me it doesn't matter, but a lot of our clients do put preference on that island here. So the fact that this doesn't have an island, I know that out of the 10 clients that I would tour to this property, 7 of them would bring that up. That there's no island and there's not enough counter space here. Which, as I say that, this is not, I don't think this is granite. So this might not, the countertops may not be updated. The appliances are, but not the countertops. All right. So we have the office right here. You have the laundry room, and you have the hallway into the rooms. Now, something about these images, they're all vertical. That's not cool. This is your primary bedroom. And you can see the heavier paint. Now, why do I call that out? Well, the heavier paint is washable. I didn't know this until very recently, truth be told, but whenever you get a new build, as you look at the differences, whenever you get a new build, most builders, unless you're looking at the higher end builders, will paint with paint that is it's just by the letter of the law, it's paint. But as far as being washable or anything else like that, no, it doesn't sustain. It's not that durable. So you're finding yourself, especially if you rent this out, like if you rent out a property, or when you're when you're moving out of the house that you either just built through one of the builders, you're going to find that you're going to need to repaint. Oftentimes you can't just wash it away or any marks that you had on it. The shower was updated. You have your closet. You have room. I've lost count. This is room 2 or 3 or something like that. There's 3 bed, 2 bath, almost an 1,800 square foot. A little porch over here or patio. And we have a iPhone user here. All right, that was not called for, but yeah, we have some photography that was done through iPhone. That is why we had the vertical shots that we did. But we do have some cool aerial shots. All right, well, let's buy this house. Let's see if there's any additional information we need to know before we end up purchasing. Corner lot on 1.28 acres in the heart of Celina with no HOA. Huge plus with Celina right now, since there's so much new construction. Over 85% of new construction is being built right into an HOA. So it's rare, especially with Celina. Again, there's so much new construction up there. It'd be rare for an HOA not to be present. In this particular case, there isn't. So that's a good thing for us. The spacious corner lot borders a dead-end street. Okay, so yeah, that dead-end street makes sense. Offering extra privacy and parking. This darling one-story home has hardwood floors throughout and many recent updates including carpet, paint throughout, new hardware, decorative lighting, home security features, appliances, and Nuvis reverse osmosis water system. I don't know what that is. The living room features a wood-burning fireplace and raised hearth. Again, I've never known how to actually say that, truth be told, which flows into a large kitchen overlooking the acreage in the back. On one side of the home, you'll find the primary bedroom and bathroom, along with 2 bedrooms and shared full-size bathroom. The dining room is located off the living room, which leads into the bonus flex room. New roof installed 2023 with transferable warranty. Build a shop, pool, and park your RV. Giving you ideas. Giving you ideas right now, right? Go ahead and build that shop, build that pool, and build that RV. A country feel with city living, located minutes from charming downtown Celina, where you'll find plenty of restaurants, shopping, and more. Celina ISD. All right, well, that did give us some information here. It gave us the new roof information. Beyond that, not much. Celina is the county. So, I'm sorry, Collin County is this will be important for us. Collin County is the county that we're in, so we're going to use that for property tax sake. All right, so Celina, we're just going to call out some important information. So again, since this is a 30-year property basically, so it's a 30-year-old property at this point, you're going to be in, like what I would have loved to hear here would have been, if the water heater was recently replaced, if the HVAC unit was recently replaced. So what I would do is I would go through images and kind of get a feel for the HVAC unit. Again, if I'm trying to save time and preserve time, I would look through the images to see if just by chance they included some image of the HVAC. But again, I'm looking more for those bigger ticket items, because at this point by year 30, we're going to need to be replacing them if they haven't already been replaced. Taxes, don't get married to this number. The property tax number really doesn't mean too much to you, given the fact that the assessed value is going to change when you buy this house. So meaning how much you get taxed against the property value that the county assesses your property to be. And then also your exemptions are going to be different than the homeowner. So you might have a homestead exemption. You might have which many people do, but you might have a 65 plus exemption, a disability exemption. The present homeowner may have lived there forever and for always, and they consistently protested property taxes, and the fact that they had a homestead exemption caps how much the assessed value could actually rise. There's a lot to do with property taxes that is often overlooked. So I don't put too much credence into what the previous homeowner was paying in property taxes, because I know it's going to change when I own this property. And that's actually what I'm going through right now with one of the properties that I'm going to buy here in Mansfield. The tax discrepancy is huge. It's absolutely astronomical, but I knew that going in. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, almost 1,800 square feet, 1.28 acres. All right, so let's see what we got. The rest of the information is pretty standard. Celina ISD, we're going to need that for property taxes. We already know that there's no HOA, and the rest of the information is fine. Now, one thing that I will note, and this goes more into pricing strategy, if a property is vacant, I treat that differently than if it was occupied for several different reasons. But if you have a vacant property, what I immediately look for is how much is owed on this property? And if it's vacant, then and there is a mortgage on this, I know that I can be a little bit more aggressive in my pricing when I'm submitting offers. Why is that the case? Well, homeowner is already gone. Homeowner is paying every single month. That property is still on the market, is paying that mortgage, and they're already on their way, right? So if this was owned outright and clear out and all that fun stuff, then maybe I might not have as much latitude, but oftentimes I will. Did I zoom in here by accident? Okay, I think we're okay. All right, so let's buy this house. Let's buy this house, 560. Let's do our math real quick. We're going to use exact amounts. Now, this Loan Clarity Advisor, this is essentially a mortgage comparison tool. This is going to give us 3 different scenarios that we're going to build out together, and you're going to see how much the cost of the mortgage payment, the property taxes will pay, the appreciation, I'm going to give you the scenario if you were to sell this house 10 years from now, how much you would make, how much you would lose, and everything in between. So we're going to buy this house for $560,000, and we're going to get to work. Now, there's a few parameters that we need to set in order to make this scenario work. Number 1, monthly HOA. So essentially, what's the HOA fee? There's not one, so we're not going to budget anything into this. Now, the reason, although we say monthly HOA, you're not paying your HOA dues monthly, and you're certainly not paying them in the mortgage payment. Your HOA fees are paid either at the beginning of the year, if it's annual, or biannually, or quarterly, depending on your HOA, but that's something that you pay separate, and it's via an invoice, just as a heads up, but we like to budget that into our calculation. Monthly home insurance. So our home insurance essentially is what is our premium going to be. So for the premium, all we do is we do a very simple calculation. We just do 0.75% times the value of the home. So 0.75% times the value of the home is going to give us a yearly premium, and we're going to divide that by 12. So 0.0075. I'm converting that 0.75% into a decimal. So I'm doing 0.0075 times the value of the home, and I'm getting a premium of $4,200, and I'm going to divide that by 12. So my insurance, what I'm going to budget here for my insurance premium is going to be $350. Now, this is a reasonable number. Some of you are going to get a higher premium. Some of you are going to get a lower premium. Many things go into this. 1, the location of the property. 2, if this property has ever had any claims against it, or if you have claims that you've submitted claims before. The limits, your deductible, like the way that you build out your policy matters. Also, when who you end up using matters. If you use a standalone provider versus bundling it with your audio, that's also going to impact how much you're paying in monthly homeowners insurance. But this is a reasonable amount. Just put 0.75% times the value of the home, which if you're going to do the calculation is 0.0075 times the value of the home, and then divided by 12. Monthly property taxes. This is where the conversation gets a little bit longer, a little bit more extended. So let's talk about taxes for a quick second. Taxes are interesting, right? Taxes are something that you pay when you own a home. So you're looking at the first thing to understand is that you're paying property taxes when you own a home. A lot of us that have been renting or leasing for a while, it's a foreign concept for us. It was for me whenever I first purchased my home back in 2000 and when did I buy? 15-ish, 14, something like that. Whenever I bought my first home, right? So that was foreign to me. The second thing to understand about property taxes, especially here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, is that the ballpark for property taxes is roughly from 1.8% to about 3%. 1.8% on the low end to about 3%, which means that if you have if your property tax is like, let's say 2% as an example, then you're paying 2% times the assessed value of your home every single year. So you can see that this quickly becomes tens of thousands into hundreds of thousands, depending on how long you own the property and also how expensive the home is. So property taxes are a real expense that never go away. Your mortgage will eventually go away after 20 or 30 years, depending on how long you have the mortgage for. But property taxes are forever until, you sell that house. The third thing to understand is that for your property taxes, you need to find up to 5 property tax numbers. So here's what that means. There's no singular number that you would need, that you're going to find on the internet that tells you, hey, this is the total amount that you're paying in property taxes in Celina, as an example. You have to find that number. And it's comprised of up to 5 numbers. In Celina, actually might be more, because there's some special, like mud taxes, PID taxes, special water taxes. And I'll talk about it more as we actually do the homework and the digging into this in real time right now. But there's up to 5 numbers for the most part in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Number 1 is going to be the city tax rate. Number 2 is going to be the county tax rate. Number 3 is going to be the ISD tax rate. These 3 numbers we need to find in every single city in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex that we're planning to buy in. These 3 numbers exist in every single one of them, so you're going to add them together. The other 2 that often come up are the higher education tax, so think of community college, and the other one would be the, what I say, higher education? Hospital network tax. So if you're in Dallas, as an example, think Parkland. If you're in Fort Worth, think JPS. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go find that property tax rate. So we're going to go with Celina, Texas, property tax rate. All right, so this does not have the information that we need. We're going to go to the next one. This too does not have the information that we need. So I'm going straight to the websites, the actual city websites, to get this information. Now, unfortunately, Celina is letting us down. So we're going to have to go and use the tax estimator. I don't want to do that, but I think we might need to. Yeah, we're gonna need to use the calculator here. So we're gonna go to the tax estimator. We're gonna go with Collin County. We're gonna go with Celina. We're gonna go with Celina ISD. And we're gonna go ahead and use the college. I want to say that there's a hospital network here somewhere, but maybe Celina's out of it, because there's a Collin Hospital something, but I can't verify that right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to assume 4 out of the 5. The water district, we might be paying water districts. Let's do this real quick. If this will play with us, let's see if this will. Here's what we can do. If we're unsure, I'll give you the entire playbook right now. If we're unsure, I'm going to go to the Collin CAD, which is the Collin CAD, which stands for the Central Appraisal District. And we're going to find this property on the CAD. So let's do this real quick. Redbud. All right, so they're the homeowners. And I'm not going to show their names on the screen because I'm not trying to dox them. What I am trying to find are the taxes that we have for us. Okay, cool. This is perfect. All right, so if ever in doubt, go straight to the CAD. And sometimes it'll surprise you with real-time information. All right, so this is the property that we just pulled up. This is the property that we're trying to buy. This one right here. And I pulled it up right now. And we have the city tax rate, which we knew, the county tax rate, which we knew as well, the ISD tax rate, and then the college tax rate, which is what we were going on our way to find out. So here, just so you see the calculator that they gave us and how it works, once I calculate it, I would have these percentage points. So this should, in theory, add up to what these numbers give us. So I'm doing just one brief glance. 6.2, 149, yep. 0.08, yep. And then the final one should be 123. Slightly off for the ISD, but we're going to take it. So this is telling us that this is a 2.08% property tax rate in Celina. So again, ever in doubt, first, you're going to go to the city. If the city acts a fool and they don't give you the information like we were looking for, which because it didn't, we went to the county website and then we saw the calculator. Now for me, I was unsure if if the there's a call-in hospital network that was being included that I was missing. In this particular case, I wasn't, and I was able to verify that by going straight to the CAD and pulling up this property to see which entities were actually charging taxes for this property, because it will tell you that. So for all that mess, what this means is what we're going to do is we are going to estimate our property taxes. All right, so we're going to go with what we're going to do is we're going to go with 0.028. I'm sorry, it's 2.08, 0.0208. So that is the percentage in decimal form. And we're going to multiply this times the value of the home. And then we're going to divide that by 12 to get the monthly. And we're going to stop here after I make this calculation for a little bit of a fireside chat. All right, so this 970, don't let it fool you. I know I'm good, but I'm not that good. Just kidding. Not really. Anyway, 970 is actually an overestimate. 970 is actually me overestimating roughly what we're going to be paying in property taxes. Why is that the case? Well, because I used the market value of this home. Oops, I pulled the wrong one, didn't I? I used the market value of the home. I didn't use the assessed value of the home. of the home. The assessed value of the home is actually lower oftentimes than the market value of the home. So this means the market value is what you can buy the property for. The assessed value is what the Central Appraisal District is using this rate that we just came up with, or that we found, 2.08%, times the assessed value. So remember when I said, hey, this tax number here that we're seeing, this means a hill of beans. This is not the number that you're going to be paying. And as I'm looking at this property tax record here, I can guarantee you the homeowners right now are not paying this. I have no idea where this came from. Actually, I do have an idea, but it'd be too long for me to explain it. So here, this is after you factor in the assessed value, after you factor in the exemptions that they have, that they're entitled to, and all that in between. So for us, will we be able to get to that and get down to that number? No, honestly, no. The most that you're going to be able to do in this environment, in this climate, you're probably looking at $9,000 in true property taxes. So and that's if all the cards fall right, but most likely you're going to be paying about $10,500 in property taxes. I'm overestimating here. Again, because I'm using the market value, I'm not using the assessed value, which is going to be lower. Long story, but let's keep going. Let's look at 3 different loan types that we have available. All right, so let's do conventional 5%, FHA 5%, conventional 20%. So here's what we got. We have, when you're buying a house, there's different types of loans that you can. When you're buying a house, there's different types of loan options for you. You have FHA, you have conventional, you have portfolio, you have USDA, you have VA, you have so many jumbo loans. You have so many different types of loans. Oftentimes, your lender is going to ask you or quote you on conventional and FHA because those are the 2 most common types of loans. So that's one thing to understand. Conventional and FHA are quite common. Now, each one of these types of loans has different requirements. in order to be approved, and also has some special characteristics. So with conventional, as an example, the minimum down payment for a conventional loan is going to be 3%. That's the minimum that you would need to get into that product. FHA, the minimum down payment for an FHA loan is 3.5%. So it's slightly more. That's one thing. Now, let's go on to the next part. If you put less than 20% down on any one of these products, conventional or an FHA, if you put less than 20% down, you're paying what's called mortgage insurance. What is mortgage insurance? Mortgage insurance is an insurance that the lender puts on you in the event that you default. So they're going to be able to take their property back, which they were going to do anyway. But now they have an additional, I would say, buffer, an additional way to reduce risk, some additional insurance. I mean, just that's what insurance is. Mortgage insurance is additional insurance and mitigate their losses in the event that you default. So here's the kicker: you're paying for that. You're paying for that. You're paying that mortgage insurance for that insurance, right? So you're going to be paying that mortgage insurance, which essentially is going to be several $100s more a month, and I'll show you what that amounts to at the end of the day. You're paying several $100s more a month for that mortgage insurance. So that's the next thing to recognize. If you put less than 20% down, you're paying mortgage insurance. The next thing, if you get a conventional loan, eventually that mortgage insurance goes away. I'll show you when that happens here down to the month. If you get an FHA loan, that mortgage insurance never goes away. That's going to be there for the rest of the loan until you pay off the loan, until you refinance, until you sell the house. Basically, until that loan is no longer under your name, you're paying mortgage insurance. That's what's going to happen. So with that backdrop in place, let's build out the rest of the scenario. We're going to go with 5% down in our first scenario. We're going to put 5% down with an FHA scenario, and we're going to go with the 20% scenario to show you the differences. So hopefully everybody's following along. Now let's talk about interest rate. Interest rates change by the hour. So the best thing to do whenever you're watching this video is to go to what is the interest rate right now for buying a home, or some variation of that in Google. Go to your current go to bank rate, and then this is going to give you a number. It's going to give you what's happening right now. The national average for a 30-year is 6.34%. So we're going to use this number to get us into the conversation. We're going to use this number as the average. Some of you are going to get higher rates, some of you are going to get lower rates. It's just going to it's going to vary. It's going to depend on you, your credit, the amount that you're borrowing, the interest rates that are being offered right now. But right now, we're saying that our interest rate is going to be roughly around 6.34%. That's going to be what we get quoted. Now, let's talk about points. Point is you having the ability to buy down the interest rate. So, as an example, if you submit all your information to the lender and they say, hey, we can lend you this money for 6.34%, you can buy points to lower this interest rate. How much would that cost? Well, if you buy 1 point, and this is how the verbiage that they use, they being the lenders, if you buy 1 point, you're basically buying it for 1% of the value of the loan. So here, if you borrowed $500,000 as an example, it'd be $5,000 to buy 1 point. Now, one important distinction to make is that if you buy 1 point, it doesn't mean that you're lowering the interest rate by 1%. That's not that. I wish that was the case, but that's not. The math that I go with usually is I am buying down 1/4 of a percentage point. So basically, if I buy 1 point for $5,000, I'll probably get this interest rate at about 6.09% or so. I'd be able to drop it. And you're able to buy more and more points, but at some point it just becomes too expensive and it doesn't make sense to buy more and more points. But anyway, that's what points means. You get to input this into your calculator. Something else that you get to input into your calculator are your lender fees. So whenever you get a quote from a lender, you get to put those fees in here to give you what a real life scenario of how much you would be spending on that loan. Now, if you haven't gone to a lender yet, just put 2% of the value of the home, and that'll give you a conservative ballpark of what you could pay for in terms of lender fees, right? If you haven't gotten quoted yet, just put 2% of the value of the home. We're not going to put these because it just varies so much, and I just want you to be able to use this tool. It is linked down below, and if you can't find it there, just go to winthehouseyoulove.com. That's where this tool came from our friend Kyle Seagrace with Win the House You Love. The YouTube channel is phenomenal. I encourage you to go and subscribe to him as well. Monthly mortgage insurance, we talked about this. Since we didn't put 20% down on option 1 and option 2, we're going to be paying mortgage insurance. With the conventional loan, we'll eventually get rid of it. With FHA, we're not, and I'll show you the math here shortly. Now, you have the option of making extra payments towards your principal, so you can budget that into your loans. You can add monthly payments, or you can add lump sums to see how much faster and how much less you're going to be paying in interest when it's all said and done. So make sure that you add that if you plan to do so. Now, this is a visual of what happens after 10 years of how much the loan would have cost you if you got a conventional 20%, an FHA 5%, and conventional 5%. So here you see the differences of how much less expensive the conventional loan is, and here on paper, or here in this breakdown, this table, you're going to see the differences. You're going to see that if you got in 10 years a conventional 20% down on this house, it would have cost you $264,000 in interest, plus the lender fees and all that stuff that you can add later. But the interest would have been about $264,000. Now, if you get a FHA 5% down, it would have cost you $319,000 in interest, plus that mortgage insurance that we talked about that doesn't go away, and also what's called the financing fee, which is 1.725% of the value of the loan. So there, you're also looking at another fee because it's an FHA loan. So you're going to add those together. You see that fee, that adds up. And we're talking about just 10 years into it. With the conventional loan, same thing. You're going to be paying interest, of course, and then you're going to be paying mortgage insurance. At this point in time, you're actually still paying mortgage insurance in year 10, at least on paper. Now, if you go further out into the world, let's say it matures all 30 years, if you get a conventional 20%, you save about $176,000 when you compare it to the FHA, and then with the conventional 5%, you get to see how much more you pay there as well, right? So you see the differences. At any point in time, you can toggle left and right up here and see the differences. Let's continue. Let's talk about monthly mortgage payment because that matters. So let's just say in year 1, where most of your payment is going towards the interest, in year 1, what's our monthly payment going to look like? Well, if we get a conventional 20% down, we're paying about $4,100. If we get an FHA 5%, you're looking at $4,900. Conventional 5%, you're looking at $4,900 roughly. So you're going to notice that regardless of the loan that you get, 5% conventional or 5% FHA or conventional 20% down, most of the payment goes into the interest and such little goes into the principal. That's across the board on year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. The amount that goes into interest is going to be larger for the majority of the loan. You're not going to see the principal, the amount that you pay into the principal, supersede the interest amount up until year 19 and a half or so. So year 19, let's call it 20 years. So for 20 years, you're going to be paying more towards interest than you are towards principal. I'm sorry, but that's just how it is right now. And I'll show you this on paper just so you see it. But anyway, the rest of the breakdown is pretty self-explanatory. This is how much we budgeted for property taxes, how much we budgeted for homeowners insurance, this is how much we budgeted for mortgage insurance. And as you see, this, where you're looking at year 1, we're paying mortgage insurance. Now, if we were to go to year 10, no, let's go to year, 14? This mortgage insurance has gone away because it's a conventional 5% down. Here, we never had it because we paid 20% down. All right, so let's look at the equity and what this would look like for this Celina home. So let's just say if we wanted to look at in year 21 of the 30 years, we want to see how much equity do we have, right? So it seems like, well, we only have 9 years left on this loan. This means that we're 68% owned. We've gone through 68% of this loan already. I would guess that I'm pretty close to owning that amount, that percentage amount in this home. Well, you would be wrong. In year 21 or so, you're looking at conventional being 51% owner equity, and then FHA, you would own about 51% of that home as well. With the conventional 20% down, you would own about 60%. The reason that this is the case is because of what we mentioned earlier. Most of your initial payments through the initial years go more towards interest than the principal. So if that's happening, it's challenging for you to eat into the principal and get more equity. So you're going to find that you get 50% equity in the final 9 years of the loan. That's very important to at least know. There's nothing that you can do against it outside of paying more towards principal initially if you can. But It's important to know because that's how the loans work. Now, the only thing I want to point out here in the loan details is that in year 10 and 2 months, on paper, that mortgage insurance falls away from this conventional 5%. It can fall off a lot sooner if the home appreciates a little bit quicker. All right, so let's talk about our exit strategy, which is important. On average, you're going to be in this house for about 10 years. So in 10 years, you want to see, how did I do with this investment? So let's just say the home appreciates. Let's say the home appreciates at 4%. Let's call it that. Let's say that at the end of the rainbow, we're going to sell this house at 7%, meaning this includes title work, this includes fees, this includes realtor commissions, this includes maybe a few repairs here and there. And let's also look at property taxes. Let's also assume that property taxes are going to rise by 3% every year. And let's also assume that homeowners premium is also going to increase. Homeowners insurance is also going to increase by 3% per year. So at the end of the rainbow, this home that we bought in Celina for $560,000 increased and appreciated by $268,000. So this is how much we gained. It cost us $58,000 to sell it after 10 years. The cost of the loan for this particular loan was $343, with an FHA was $353, with the conventional 20% down, it was $264. That's the cost of the loan. That's how much we paid in interest. Our property taxes was the same throughout, and so was the homeowner's insurance. At the end of the day, for those 10 years, our housing expense, our housing cost was $314,000 for this loan. Our FHA loan was $324,000, and our conventional 20% was $235. That's what it cost us to live in this house for 10 years. We took the appreciation and subtracted all the expenses that were associated with this house. Now, also for comparison, you're going to be able to compare it against the rent in this particular home. So if you were to rent this same type of property out, if you were to rent this property out, it'd be about $3,200, and then it would have cost you about $450,000 to live in this house. Folks, hopefully this provided value to you in some way. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, our contact information is down below. Outside of that, see you on the next one.